Hi everyone, I'm James, and this is Covetous Imp Gaming, and this week we're going to talk about some of my favorite monsters from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Before we get started with that, please do the internet robots a favor, like this video, leave us a comment below about any monsters you think that we've missed, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're alerted to our future content. Check us out over on Facebook and Patreon, those links are down below. So for this week's video, we are looking at monsters from CR 1/8 up to CR 8. And I took monsters, with the exception of one monster on this list, all the way up to CR 20. Took everything from the Monster Manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, and Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. So our first monster on the list is the Kobold at CR 1/8. Having access at this low CR to pack tactics will just annihilate someone. It's being able to roll at advantage on every single attack if there's another kobold next to you is just amazing. Next up on the list in the CR 1/8 slot is the Boggle. Being able to produce this oily slick that is either sticky or slippery. The slippery one having the chance to knock a player prone, and the sticky restraining it offers the Boggle tons of chances to get those attacks at advantage, which at a low CR is nothing but gas. In the CR 1/4 slot is the Troglodyte. Being able to poison a character just being close to it from its stench ability, as well as multi-attacking 3 times around at a CR 1/4 is just a recipe for disaster when you have multiple copies of this thing attacking a group. The next up on the list, again at CR 1/4, is the Broom of Animated Attack from Curse of Strahd. What can you say about this thing? It lies in wait, looking like an ordinary broom until it has its opportunity to strike, probably with surprise advantage, and again with multi-attack at a lowly CR 1/4, it can quickly snipe someone off even in its surprise round, and possibly even into the first round if it rolls well on initiative. With its high dexterity, that shouldn't be a problem. Next are our CR 1/2 monsters. These are very technical fighters. The Shadow, being able to, on a successful hit, reduce someone's strength by 1d4 every time they hit, really is a recipe for disaster against anyone who used strength as their dump stat. So your rogues, your wizards, anybody with that 8 or lower in strength already is looking to get taken down in a quick 2 to 3 shots. The next up is the Rust monster, again at CR 1/2. At low level, you don't have access to magic weapons, magic armor, and the Rust monster is going to make short work of that chainmail or your greatsword, anything like that, where when it touches your armor with its attack, it's going to reduce the AC of your armor by 1. If it reduces it by 5, it's gone. Same thing with your weapons. When you hit the Rust monster with your weapon, it reduces the attack of your weapon by 1. When it hits 5, the weapon is gone. So at an early level, the diminishing returns on your attacks just build up and build up and build up, making Rust monsters probably one of the worst things you could throw at a party at an early level. Next up is CR 1, and this one is a brute, to say the least. The Bugbear hits like a truck. As a level 1 boss for a one-shot, they are perfect. It's just enough damage to down someone, but not outright kill them unless the wrong person gets hit. But a Bugbear just has just enough health to be obnoxious, and just enough damage to really keep that one person that's healing on their toes for a couple rounds of combat. My other CR1 monster is the Scarecrow. The paralyzing gaze, the multi-attack, yes, they're vulnerable to fire, but they're resistant to non-magical attacks. I think just throwing one scarecrow at a party in the middle of a field is enough to really scare somebody. Next up at CR2 is the Intellect Devourer. This is another technical fighter where you are attacking someone's intelligence instead of the shadows where they attacked strength. That person who dumped intelligence and is looking at an 8 on their paper is now really able to be one-shot by a CR2 monster. This is something that you can have just drop down from a ceiling in a cave and have a surprise round. You can throw it in with a couple other Mind Flayer-like monsters. It is really a tough nut to crack. My other CR2 monster is the Duragar Mindmaster. And I have used these against parties in the past, and the shrink reducing their melee attack damage to 1, but the psychic damage goes up from a 3d6 to a 4d6. It is brutally punishing. And again, they are a very dangerous monster to be throwing around at people at low level. Paired up with any regular Duragar, this is a dangerous fight, even if your encounter calculator of choice says that it's an even encounter. The Duragar Mindmaster definitely pushes it up into a new level. Next up at CR3 is the Grell. This will lie in wait and stealth until it has one party member sneaking ahead to scout ahead, and that's when it will strike with its paralyzing tentacles. And once it has a party member paralyzed, it will work to finish it off and at least work towards evening up the encounter from maybe a 5-on-1 to a 4-on-1. My other CR3 monster for tonight is the Mummy. Between its dreadful glare fearing opponents and its rotting fist just outright reducing your max HP by 3d6 every time it hits you if you fail your saving throw, makes it a very gruesome encounter. Even on a 1-on-5 or 1-on-6, you really do stand a good chance of losing a character if someone gets feared and someone who's not necessarily a frontline person continuously takes that rotting fist ability. Next up at CR4, we have the Banshee. Stat-wise, it's not very impressive, but where it shines is it's resistant to almost every kind of damage. And some of the ones that it's not resistant to, it's outright immune to. And where it really shines is it is immune to almost every condition. And finally, once per day, it can wail. And if you fail your Constitution save, you are just outright reduced to 0 HP. My second CR4 monster is what I think is possibly one of the most versatile monsters on this list, and that's the Flame Skull. At level 4 or 5, one Flame Skull can do a ton of damage with that fireball as soon as someone walks into a room. And at higher levels, grouping them up into 3 Flame Skulls could do just as much damage to a higher level group, throwing multiple fireballs in the first round of combat. At CR5, we have another just outright monstrosity in the Gorgon. Ridiculously high AC, really good hit points, a charge, and a petrifying breath that recharges on a 5 and 6. It's a party killer again. It is hard to stop and will get in close and unleash that breath weapon as fast as it can. Next up on the CR5 list is the Mind Witness. Now, this is a beholder that was captured and modified by Mind Flayers, and its tentacle attacks are modified beholder attacks, and it just does a vicious, vicious barrage of attacks every turn. Having access to 3 tentacle attacks a turn, one being aversion, fear, telekinesis, slow, stun, and psychic damage, And then once it has you locked down, can come in and finish you off with tentacle and bite attacks. It is a violent, violent little beast. At CR6, we've got the Bodak. This is another one of those, from the look of it, it's not that impressive, but it has a non-action reduce you to 0 HP ability. If you're looking at me and I'm looking at you at the start of your turn, you make a saving throw. If you fail, you're reduced to 0 HP. Moves like that are broken. My other CR6 is the Mage out of the Monster Manual. This is Mage Armor, Misty Step, Counterspell, Fireball, Ice Storm, Greater Invisibility, and Cone of Cold. This thing standing in the back row of an encounter is just going to spell doom for a party if it's not dealt with quickly. Coming in at CR7 is the Mind Flayer. Wearing a breastplate giving it 15 AC, the ability to Mind Blast with a recharge, stunning anything for a minute that doesn't make a DC 15 intelligence saving throw, the Extract Brain and its regular tentacle attacks stunning you make it an unfair fight in a 1-on-6 for the 6. It is a beast and has the potential to outright kill an entire party in a matter of rounds. My other CR7 is the only dragon on this list, and that is the Young Black Dragon. It's 12d8 acid breath, its high stealth and high perception make it so that it can hide somewhere and wait for the party to come along, even a sneaky party, and get the jump on them, unload that acid breath, and quickly swoop in to finish them off. For our last two monsters for the evening, the first one at CR8 is the Cloaker. The ability to produce mirror images of itself, to latch on to someone's head and continue attacking every round. And if it's attached to someone, it has the ability to, when it's hit, it takes half of the damage and the person that it's attached to takes the other half. It is a brutal thing to drop onto a backline character and then have those frontline people that are good at dishing out all that melee damage slowly kill the Cloaker and their friend at the same time. The last item for the night is the Corpse Flower, again at CR8. The Corpse Flower just spews out zombies and finishes people off with its little tentacle attacks, and has the ability to pick up someone who's fallen in battle and basically begin to devour them. After devouring someone, it can then either animate them into a zombie or use that body to heal itself. It also has multi-attacks, so those tentacle attacks are coming in 3 at a time, hitting for a good amount of physical damage and 4d6 poison damage if a Constitution saving throw is not made. So that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Let me know in the comments below what monsters by those CRs that you think I missed. Next week, we will be exploring CRs 9 through 20, again, ignoring anything that has legendary actions or layer actions. I really hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. We appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next week.